When you picture a ninja, you probably imagine a mystical warrior, a master of shadows, leaping across moonlit rooftops in a display of superhuman agility. In 17th century Japan, being born into a ninja clan was a miserable, inescapable curse that dictated every moment of your existence. The social hierarchy of the time was brutal. Samurai were the respected, upper-class military elite who fought out in the open on the front lines. Ninjas sat at the absolute bottom of the food chain. The ruling class viewed you as a disposable tool. You were born into poverty and exploited for the covert tasks deemed too dishonorable for the social elite. Because of that low status, you didn't get a childhood. There were no playdates. Your training to become an efficient, silent killer started the moment you left the womb. And this conditioning was agonizing. As a toddler, you were forced to crawl through dense, thorny bushes to permanently toughen up your skin and learn how to endure pain without making a sound. Absolute silence was drilled into you as a matter of basic survival. You quickly learned that letting a single twig snap under your foot meant alerting an enemy camp and losing your life. While other kids played normal games, your version of hide-and-seek involved mastering the ability to vanish perfectly into dark corners, into cramped spaces, or crowded streets. You were never nurtured as a human being. From your first breath, you were systematically engineered by your clan to be a living weapon for the state. This extreme early conditioning operated on a terrifying timeline. By the time you turned 10 years old, you had completely mastered basic stealth, survival, and combat. You weren't practicing on wooden dummies anymore. At 10 years old, you were actively deployed on live, lethal assassination missions. Imagine being a powerful, battle-hardened military leader, commanding massive armies, only to have your life ended in the dark by a literal preteen. This chart shows exactly what happens when you send children on high-stakes covert operations. While the standard 17th century Japanese life expectancy held somewhat steady, the ninja survival rate experiences a plummeting drop. Making it out of your 20s was highly improbable. If you somehow survived to your late teens and early 20s, you entered your prime. Your physical condition peaked, which meant your clan assigned you the most dangerous tasks available. Your main arsenal relied heavily on short blades and katanas for close-quarters fighting. For a safer distance, you used the iconic throwing stars and poison blow darts to quietly drop a target without alerting the guards. Getting the kill was only half the job. To evade capture in tightly guarded areas, you relied on a secondary evasion toolkit of smoke bombs and flash grenades to blind your enemies and cover your escape. These escapes were necessary because you were often breaching massive, heavily fortified enemy strongholds like this one, operating deep in hostile territory for weeks or even months at a time. Sneaking around in the dark only worked at night. During the day, you operated in plain sight through a complex system of disguises, slipping into the role of a merchant, a farmer, or a humble monk. Putting on the clothes was the easy part. To avoid execution, you had to flawlessly mimic the highly specific posture, speech patterns, and daily mannerisms of your adopted persona. You were a psychological chameleon. Your survival out in the field depended entirely on your ability to erase your true identity and become someone else completely. That kind of deep cover isolation bred extreme paranoia. From birth, you were conditioned to trust absolutely no one, not outsiders, and certainly not your closest peers. The threat came from every direction. You could easily be double-crossed by a rival employer, set up by the political leader you were hired to protect, or quietly assassinated by a fellow ninja looking to secure their own position, and there was zero margin for error. If you botched a mission, your clan didn't send a rescue team. You faced immediate execution or permanent abandonment. This lack of autonomy followed you home. To protect clan secrets and maintain a steady talent pool, the government strictly dictated who you married, limiting your choices exclusively to other ninjas. These unions transformed families into production lines, churning out children who would be fed directly back into the training cycle to keep the clan functional. Let's say you beat the staggering odds and made it to your 30s. For a ninja, you had officially reached old age and supposed retirement. There was no gold watch or quiet house in the country. Decades of scaling stone walls, enduring brutal combat, and sleeping in the dirt absolutely destroyed your body. You were plagued by extreme exhaustion and chronic injuries. By the time you hit 30, the daily, agonizing pain left you requiring a heavy wooden cane just to walk across a room. Surviving the world's deadliest job offered no reward. It simply degraded you from a lethal, highly active asset into a broken, obsolete tool, permanently stripped of the stealth that once kept you alive. Once your physical utility vanished, so did your value. You were entirely abandoned by the clan leaders and employers who had worked you into the ground. Your only remaining function was to perpetuate the vicious cycle, forced into the role of an instructor to brutally train the next batch of doomed toddlers. You spent your final years completely isolated. No relationships or public celebrations of your service, just living out your days forgotten in constant, chronic pain. The historical ninja was far from a comic book superhero. You were a tragic piece of military hardware, manufactured specifically for violence, used until you broke, and thrown away the moment you stopped being useful.